Hello again everybody, and a very warm welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at the Diamond DA42 created by Cows, and it's available on Orbex, a brand new aircraft for Microsoft Flight Simulator. And if that's the sort of thing that interests you and you want to find out a little bit more about what this new product has to offer, stay tuned and share your thoughts down in the comments below. The Cows DA42 then is available on Orbex, and it's priced around about £25 depending on whether or not you pay tax and depending on what currency you use, depending on where you live. The product has been developed with over 1,500 hours of testing from real DA42 pilots, students and instructors, and they've tried to put in a lot of little quirks and little features from the real aircraft into this product to make it a really nice, realistic and accurate experience. We're going to take it on a very short flight around the north of the North Island in New Zealand. We're at Whangarei at the moment, probably pronounced that wrong, I usually do, just north of Auckland, and I'm going to have a little look at its features. I'll be sharing my thoughts with you all, and I'm interested to hear yours as well, so do share them down below in the comments, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe. A lot of attention to detail has gone into this throughout its development, and that includes an electrical system that's designed to be accurate and complete, with circuit breakers, custom alternator voltage simulation, custom standby flight instruments, de-icing system with weight and functional stall heat, gear hydraulic system simulation with state saving and gravity emergency extension. And if you like to fly a little bit rough and a little bit hard, engine damage, stress and random failures are going to be simulated at a later point in an update. Lots of custom sounds with this. It sounds like Boris Audio Works has taken part in the development of that with the sounds of the DA42. So I'm looking forward to hearing what they sound like. But without further ado, let's dive into the cockpit and have a little look at the systems and get her in the air. Inside the aircraft then, the rear seats really beautifully textured. Cows have done a fantastic job of this, and complete with sounds. All the doors are animated with suitable levels of squeakiness. Fire extinguishers down there, good to see. And if we walk through towards the flight deck, or the cockpit rather, we've got beautiful texture work here, and that big pull down cockpit door, complete with custom sounds. The windows here, they open, both of them, with latches, and in the middle here, on the pedestal, you've got your two throttles. You've got your fuel control levers, either on crossfeed or rotate that to allow you to move it to off. Big old trim wheel, and then next to the park brake you've got defrost and cabin air, rudder trim, and then above that you've got front and center these beautiful glass cockpit Garmin displays, which we will dive into shortly. A couple of manual instruments, analog instruments at the top, and then, as we mentioned in the introduction, these pullable circuit breakers with the simulated electrical systems for you to enjoy. There's no fuel pumps to fiddle around with in this aircraft. The startup sequence is actually quite simple. Because of that, we're going to dive straight into it and get her in the air. So, electric master on. Wait for the Garmin to boot up. And we're going to pop the strobes on just to advise others around us that we're about to start. Once that's all settled, left engine master on, left glow on. That's now gone off, which means we can start the engines. Now, the one criticism I've got here, which I'm hoping they would address in the future update, is this click spot is really fiddly. Ever so slightly away from the key, you can't start it, or it will start in the wrong direction. leaving you kind of fiddling around a little bit. You can use your mouse wheel to scroll one way or the other, but you need to hold it for around 1 second to get the engine to start. So I would like to see the click spot for that. There we go, I've just done it the wrong way. I'd like the click spot for that to be actually made a bit bigger so that it's easy for us folk to get the engines started, but let's there we are. All pressure's up, fuel flow, all temperature's going to rise, as will the coolant temperature, and the fuel quantities are in the middle there. Both centre tanks half full or half empty, depending on how your outlook lies. And we'll start engine 2, or right engine. So right engine master on, right glow is illuminated now on the annunciator panel there. Once that disappears, same process. Start engine right. So that's 1 and 2 both on. Let's close this. And close that. Nice little sound difference there, the pitch change and the muffling. If we take a peek on the outside, we get ailerons, elevators, and rudder. Beautiful animations. It's a really nice aircraft model actually, that's part of this package. Taxi lights on. Avionic master needs to go on. We go through the TAWS test. And with the G1000 you can go into your various modes here and change your transponder codes. Change your CDI. And change your PFD options as well, so we can change the altitude units to hectopascals or meters if you like to fly around places like China. Add your wind bearings as well, which currently there is no wind data. Winds are nice and calm. From the outside, rolling her forwards, we'll just have a little look at the steering mechanisms. And look at the oleos as they compress on braking. Look at that. Really nice to see that. What we can do is have a little look at the checklists as well while we're here. If you like to use this kind of feature, cows have included all this as well. And if you're not sure where things are, you can press the little I and it'll allow you to kind of guide between each element of your checklist as you work through. Right at the bottom here, there's one that says speeds, and this is quite an interesting one. It's good, it certainly gives us a bit of useful information. So MTO stall speeds, VS0 56 and VS 62 operating speeds, rotate 72 knots. Some key bits here for us to look at. Cruise climb 100 to 120 knots. Climb with VX flaps up at 77. So on and so forth. So you can have a little dive through all of this to see what you kind of want to set. So more than 1500 foot per minute in descent, 1750, which is 25% levers. Minus 1000 foot per minute, you want around 70%. Minus 500 foot per minute, around 90%. So really good little clues for us here. Not that I'm necessarily going to get all of them correct myself, but I would try my best. Taxi lights off, landing lights on. You can go through run-up checks and all that sort of stuff if you want to, and you could set the first stage of flaps if you so wish, if it's a superbly short runway. But very overpowered aeroplane from what I understand. Shouldn't necessarily need to worry too much about that. So we've got an analog indicated airspeed dial on the centre left, followed by our artificial horizon, our altitude, and a standby compass on that upper panel, as backups to the Garmin G1000, which offers us all of that on that rather nice, pleasant to look at screen. little bit of a crosswind by the looks of it. No practice done for these, as with other first flight preview or release day videos and things. I would dive straight into it just to see how it feels off the bat, which will match then ideally the experience that you guys will have as well. One thing they have said, if I just set the parking brake here for the run-up test, if you like to do that sort of thing, what they have said is the aeroplane kind of dances about a little bit, similar to real life. You can see that nose dive slightly as the brakes are trying to hold the aeroplane. And then if I quickly idle, you see that decompression of the suspension there as well. Really neat little feature showing the suspension dive. Anyway, without further ado, it's not like the Airbus, we're going to have to put a little bit of stick into wind here, probably a little bit of rudder to maintain the centre line, and what was the rotate speed at about 72, and then we'll aim for 100. So I've got a little bit of stick into wind. It says you want to hold the power in the checklist. I can't remember the exact figure, but it said about holding the power at a certain figure before setting takeoff power, just to ensure everything's fine. Power set, speed's alive. That noise. And then into wind. It's a 7 knot crosswind apparently, gusting. We'll go gear up. Cool animation. And the indications are up, green lights are off. Down here, we can pop yaw damper on, autopilot on if we want to as well. And you've got things like flight level change, nose down, nose up for the autopilot trim modes and all that sort of stuff to play around with, like the other Garmin G1000 cockpit bits that we enjoy. We can set that, so we can quickly set up a route, pop nav on, and it will begin to guide us with the CDI set to GPS to give us the en route to, in this case, Auckland. From the outside, as you can hear, some really rich sounds coming from the aircraft. Sounds fantastic. During the takeoff run then we could hear the kind of wind speed rushing over this beautifully aerodynamic aeroplane as we accelerated up to our takeoff speeds. From the outside the sounds are fantastic. Really impressive. Quick change of the route. Have a little look at these aileron deflections as we make the turn at 2,000 feet. Should be quite gentle. Yeah, really minuscule little movements there. See the wicks at the end of the wing there as well, for the energy dissipation. We're routing back down towards Wangrai, which is where we departed from. What I am going to do is bring the throttle back a little bit. I want to see how it handles in the slower elements of flight. So working to bring the speed down a little bit. As we vector out over this little bit of water towards our final approach. We're just going to vector ourselves towards the approach path. Bring that power back into the yellow band. I'm going to turn the autopilot off. Pop the yaw damper back on again. I'm going to see how we get on for almost triggering the stall. About 4 degrees, 5 degrees nose up, well into the yellow band, or the white band, sorry. Controls now starting to get a little bit sluggish, quite wallowy. The aeroplane's struggling with the airflow now. Look at that pitch up, 7 degrees. Wait to see if there's a stall horn. There should be. There it is. We'll keep it going. 10 degrees. Watching the vertical speed indicator, because that's going to be our first. If the nose doesn't drop, it'll be our first indication of the stall. Check gear. Okay, that's the elevator all the way back, but 900 foot per minute now, rate of descent. So that's the stall. So really nice and stable actually, and easy to handle in that condition. So next thing we can have a little look at is gear deployment. So I'm just going to extend the gear now at a reasonable speed, just so you guys can see from the outside a bit better what it looks like. And then a retraction once again. Super quick. Nice little thuds and clunks. And the ailerons and everything looking really good there as well. So we'll get the gear down, we'll start to route towards the final approach path. We'll see how I fare with my first ever landing with this aircraft, with that crosswind again. Wangrai just up off in the distance. So quite a long final we've given ourselves here. Got one stage of flaps out. Limiting speeds 133 and 113 for those, well within them limits. And on the wings, good 45 or so degree deflection there of the flaps. You can see the runway now. And again, we can have a look at these if we want to as well. Flaps landing down 3 green. We've got various parking checks, after landing checks. Approach and landing. So approach pattern 110 to 120 indicated. VREFs flap 0, 1 or 2 depending on if you're flying clean on approach or otherwise are there as well, 86, 82 or 78. And descent 1750. So really useful actually being able to see those different speeds there. Go around at 82 knots. Get rid of that flight director, very distracting. Final stage of flaps. Significant crosswinds, got 12 knots now gusting. And actually, we're flying quite slow, 85 or so knots, but it's handling alright in this situation. I've purposely given us a bit of a challenging location with winds coming across the runway because it's a good indication of what the aircraft can do. We very rarely fly still and calm in the sim. There's always some kind of weather somewhere. And it's a really good test of the flight dynamics, the control of the aircraft, the stability of the aircraft and all the rest of it. It's now dropped to 8 knots, 11 knot headwind, which is handy. See if I can get that speed back to about 100-ish. Let's bring that nose down. I've left this coming in a bit high on purpose there. Lots of turbulence over the hills. Wanted to stay away from the hills as much as I could there for this little transition over the terrain. Now 15 knots left to right. I'm obviously not going to go into things like the G1000 cockpit because it's not necessarily needed as part of this aircraft. It's a default unit. They work as they do on the other aircraft in the sim, for example. Well away from the terrain now. Let's just get back on profile somewhat. Looking good. What have we got? 6 knots across. There's the 2 red, 2 white. Probably a little bit of bumpiness over the trees. Not an ideal location for the trees, I might add. There's the windsock. Bumpy, bumpy. You see the wind pushing us then to one side. But handles nicely and actually really quite stable on that final bit of approach. Felt very good. Lovely deceleration noise. I'm not going to retract the flaps just yet because I want to have a look at the animation up close as we do so. But in the main, around the editing of course of the video, I've been flying this now for about 30 minutes, bopping about North Island, New Zealand, and all round a really nice package, a beautiful package that they've put together actually, and a very enjoyable package to fly around in. So from the outside then, those flaps being retracted, that's the approach point, and then flaps up, like so. Pop the avionics master off. Before I do turn the engine off though, now we've parked, I'll turn all of the lights on. and we'll turn the cockpit floodlights up and the instrument lights up, just so you guys can see what the emissives look like at night time. I know some of you love to fly and adventure around the sim in these kinds of aeroplanes at night. That is beautifully textured, very nice emissives there. And on the outside, look at the lights bouncing off the ground, brilliant. It's about £25, but an incredibly complex, wonderfully created package with lovely sounds, a great feel to it as well, and can definitely recommend it. I'm much more of an airliner person, but I think if I was to go flying around in a general aviation type aircraft or training aeroplane, then currently this would be my pick of the lot. Hopefully you found this very useful and enjoyable to watch. Don't forget, as always, to hit like and subscribe. Share your thoughts down in the comments below. But in the meantime, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care.